Oh, I told you I had a statistician earlier. I also have a PhD in public policy. So every once in a while, I'll write a political one. This play was written in December or late November of this year, before Georgia went for two Democrats. So I thought the Republican was going to have the Senate, and kind of wrote a play geared towards that. And so that's why this is called Rhino. Those of you who don't, those who don't, that's Republican in name only. Um, and that's what the, I'm assuming I'm okay to say that's what the crazies call anyone who's you know, an old time Republican. So, um, so in this play, I put this on at the cat when I put the cast list together. I'm going to read the cast list. I haven't usually done that. The cast list says diversity casting is possible, but these are the whitest characters in the most derogatory sense. And we have the senator, which will be played by Kevin. He thinks he's a maverick and a policy guy. We have Chelsea, who's a lobbyist for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And we have Bryant, played by Geoff, who's going to be the executive vice president and chief policy officer of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, or basically Chelsea's boss. The scene is a senator sitting behind a desk, and Chelsea and Bryant sit opposite.
I'm not going to mince words. I am in a dangerous yet influential position. I am one of the last remaining moderates in the Senate, and my party no longer tolerates moderates. But with the Senate so tight, I also have some leverage. So my question to you, is there anything on your legislative wish list that would benefit from reaching across the aisle?
Interesting. We hadn't really thought about it.
We're pretty happy with what the party leaders are proposing. Everything's pretty well greased.
Well, yes, it is. Chelsea is one of my most effective lobbyists. You are lucky to have her.
Thank you, sir.
I am planning to use my leverage as a middleman to be a real force for this term, and I want to be able to help my friends as I do it.
Aren't you afraid about keeping your seat?
Yes and no. Oh, I know that I'm going to get primaried already. Some right-wing Tea Party or Freedom Caucus Trumpist or whatever they will be called in a few years will come after me, and maybe they will beat me. But I'm a sitting senator. If I lose in the primary, I'll run as an independent. These loonies might run the party, but they don't have a majority in the Senate. Murkowski did it. Hell, Lieberman did it when the Democrats did it to him. I don't get why my mealy-mouthed colleagues don't get it. They pushed Jeff Flake out, and he's replaced by a Democrat in Arizona. A Democrat. Goddamn cult doesn't know how to win.
The chamber supports the party.
But the party doesn't support the chamber anymore. The party supports Wall Street, hedge funds, and other billionaires. The Chamber of Commerce members are mere millionaires. We pay lip service to you, but man, you take the table scraps. Your members dream of being billionaires, so they think they want the same things as the billionaires. But I've always fought for small businesses. My dad was a small business, member of the chamber. Sold fertilizer, had 17 plants at one time. Big shot in his area. Small potatoes to Monsanto, though. Whatever Monsanto or Archer Daniels Midland wants is our agricultural policy.
Senator, I love your speeches as well as anyone, but you're not going to change our policy priorities.
I love a woman who will put me in my place. Well, as one of the last moderates and probably an endangered species, I've been thinking about my legacy.
He stands and starts walking around the office.
I've always heard in DC that you always tell the middle of the road because of the yellow streak down the back. I'm moderate and I stand for something, but I don't have a voice. The right has Fox News blaring their crap, and the left has Twitter and its band of progressive nonsense. I've clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right.
Are you feeling stuck in the middle?
The majority of people, or at least the majority in my state, don't have a platform. So I decided that I'm going to use whatever megaphone I can to find find to blast a moderate viewpoint. I'm going to the radical moderate. I'm going to bully myself onto the Sunday talk shows and CNN as the voice of reason between the two extremes. But for it to work, I have to have strong ideas that are not far right, that are not progressive, but are actual solutions.
Bold, moderate solutions. That's an oxymoron.
I can't wait to hear what you got.
Pro-education, but anti-teacher union. Get suburban moms back who want the best for their kids.
Okay, not our issue, but I personally get it. We bought our home because it was in a good school district.
Bryant, I have a question for you. Do you remember what your salary was 12 years ago?
Approximately.
Could you live on that amount today?
I'd have to trade in my Mercedes for a Kia.
A lot has changed for me in the last 12 years. I got married, so now I'm double incomed, but we have a kid, so there's all kinds of expenses.
You know whose income hasn't increased in 12 years?
Oh, God, the minimum wage.
Congress. We haven't increased congressional pay in 12 years.
Not where I thought you were going.
Of course, I'm talking about the minimum wage. Low-skilled workers and Congress members, two of the most despised groups in the country. The country thinks we don't deserve wages.
There are some who think Congress is low-skilled work.
And you have a moderate proposal for the minimum wage. Currently $7.25. Some are proposing 15 an hour. You want what? 11?
No, you don't get it. I'm going for a bold proposal that is good policy and addresses the concerns of both sides, or at least the stated concerns. We all know how insincere most policy rejections are. Arguments about minimum wage are based on perceptions, biases, economic theories, and regional differences. What are your arguments against the minimum wage?
The minimum wage is mostly for high school or college kids looking for spending money.
You don't actually believe that, do you? Doesn't matter. No. I will accept your argument and make a counter proposal that takes it into account. A step payment for longevity. Your perception that the minimum wage is mostly for or intended for entry-level people entering the workforce. High school students or recent high school graduates working their first job. These jobs have no barriers for entry, no required skills. Okay. But many workers stay in minimum wage jobs for years. So while the barriers for entry remains low, experience has actually made long-term employees more valuable. Therefore, I recommend a guaranteed wage step increase for low-end employees. This rewards good workers, provides a production incentive for workers. It forces employers to pay their good workers enough for retention. Steps could kick in at the 2-year and 5-year mark. Who loses? Who loses? Seasonal workers would need to be addressed on a prorated system. You know, those tourist jobs that only occur during high season? Job changers get their clocks reset, and the basic screw-ups would have to get their act together or always be at minimum levels.
So Walmart would fire people and hire new people.
Of course. No. Of course, there would be systemic consequences that would need to be addressed. Yes, some companies might believe it's cost-effective to turn over most of the low-end employees rather than give raises. Market conditions might punish these companies in a couple of ways. Recruitment and training costs may overtake the wages savings. The reputation of the company may suffer both in recruitment and in customer satisfaction with the service. Who would want to work for a company that is going to fire people soon? Desperate people and unmotivated people, not good employees. The biggest systemic caution would be in the race and gender makeup of who is retained and who is let go before a step increase. Racists will tend to keep their own kind.
And that's why progressives would never go for it.
Exactly. The far left would hate it. That's probably a selling point.
But it's the left that's pushing this issue. Those democratic socialists.
And I have another point that no one on the left is talking about. regional pay differences. As everyone knows, the cost of living is different based on where you live. And while there is state by state differences, it takes less money to live in red states. The real variation occurs within the states. The cashier at the Rite Aid in Eureka, California, and one in San Jose, California, may have the same job, but $8 per hour goes a lot further in Eureka. The minimum wage should be different even if they are both in California.
So you're suggesting not only a state minimum wage, but different minimum wages within a state? How would that even work?
Here's the beauty of it. It's already done. The General Services Administration already calculates locality pay tables for 51 metropolitan areas, plus the states of Alaska and Hawaii. Congress can set the base level for minimum wage, and then GSA tables shows the rate for everywhere in the country.
I think what you're proposing is a pay hike for the blue areas of the country. And that's not going to fly.
No. What I'm proposing is giving non-urban areas a competitive advantage for job growth. If it doesn't matter where my business is located, why wouldn't I put my business where I can reduce my labor costs by 20%? Let Amazon put that warehouse in Bedford Falls. They need the jobs more than Queens.
How much for the base pay?
Oh, I don't care, 10, 11, 12, that's negotiable. But the 2 points, an experience step built into the minimum wage, and a locality pay adjustment. Those get at the 2 main arguments against an increase and are good for various economies in the country to boot, urban and rural equally.
I hate it.
You hate it. Why?
You're dictating pay increases onto American businesses. Even your Congressional Budget Office says that raising the minimum wage will create job losses.
People will have 1 job instead of 2 or 3.
We will fight you on this.
How much?
We will spend millions to stop this.
Really? How much for me never to propose it?
This is an old-fashioned shakedown.
If you're willing to spend millions in a fight, I think a couple of million to nip it in the bud is not unreasonable.
You had me convinced you were serious.
Oh, I am serious. I have both a primary and a general election fight ahead of me. I'm going to need the cash.
This is outrageous.
You told me you're with the party. I suspect you wouldn't help me in the primary. I can come up with a whole slew of proposals like that. Some might even get traction.
Senator, this is a potentially criminal arrangement you're proposing.
Senator, you're a policy guy. You've always been a policy guy. And I have no doubt that you could make our lives difficult with all your policy ideas that you'd come up with. But you and I both know that policies are no longer the coin of the realm in the Senate. It's power. Russia was the boogeyman. Now we follow Moscow's lead. It doesn't matter to us as long as the party's in power. Everyone has to be in lockstep. And Senator, you are out of step. Being a radical moderate only means one thing. You're nobody.
We shall see.
No, we won't, because I have a counterproposal. $2 million, but not to your PAC, to you, personally.
Bribing a senator. Now that's serious.
And blackmail isn't.
You misunderstand. Retire. Screw re-election. Screw this stupid Congress where your only job is keeping the other side from doing anything. VP of policy. $2 million a year. No lobbying, just think tanking. Policies that are good for the Chamber of Commerce and not a stupid minimum wage hike.
I'd tell you I'd think about it, but why? I guess I'm working for you now.
You've been working for me for 10 years now. You just didn't realize it.
And blackout. Okay, thank you. That one will never see the light of day again, but it was well read.